Iowa belongs to Iowans. Iowa belongs to the families and children here. It belongs to the farmers working the ground. It belongs to the small towns that are fighting to survive. It belongs to the young people who want to stay home. It belongs to us.
It's a new chapter, and I'm so looking forward to that new chapter in life. I've been in politics a long time, and you know what? God has now said, hey, Randy, we're into something else exciting. So
it was certainly a busy and in some cases unexpected election night last night.
Definitely was. One of the biggest upsets of the evening was Representative Randy Feenstra losing the GOP nomination for governor. Now, the Associated Press has called the race for Zach Lahn. It was tight all night, but Lahn pulled ahead, securing a victory of just under a percentage point. Feenstra was the only Iowa candidate endorsed by Trump to lose. Lahn will now go on to face State Auditor Rob Sand in the November election. And heading into this race, Feenstra was seen by many as the front runner to win this nomination.
It certainly was. Let's get straight over to Local 5's Dana Searles. She's live in the Quad Cities where she was helping to co-anchor our coverage late last night as the results were coming in. Dana, I know that it's certainly been, it was a busy day for you yesterday, busy that you're here this morning. After what was certainly a very interesting result. I know a lot of people were really surprised by how things turned out there with that race.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise if you're looking at the race as a whole. I think going into it, the entire primary election campaign, we really saw Randy Feenstra be that favorite, be that front runner. But if you look at the race really in the final few weeks and especially the final few days, this result doesn't essentially come as a surprise, at least from what we've been tracking. Now, it was neck and neck all night long. But if you look at that momentum that Zach Lahn really had going into this primary election night, it kind of shows where these results came from. I mean, we saw in the final hours, we saw Lahn out fundraising Feenstra in those final two quarters. Feenstra did still raise the most money over Lahn. However, we did see in those final two quarters, Lahn kind of pull ahead in that fundraising. Now, we also saw major endorsements come in. We saw the endorsement from President Trump for Randy Feenstra, but we also saw the endorsement from Turning Point USA for Zach Lahn. Our political analyst that we talked to last night, Kelly Winfrey, she told us that she feels like Trump's endorsement for Feenstra was kind of too little too late for his campaign. But like I mentioned, nonetheless, it was a close race all night long. We saw Lahn, though, leading just by a small margin really the entire night. What started as, just a 500 vote lead turned into 1,000, then 1,500, 2,000 at some points. So as much as it was neck and neck, we did see Lahn slowly creep up. And I think the big difference is that was Lahn pulling ahead in central Iowa. We saw him win Polk County. We saw him win some of those key central Iowa counties. And I think that's what ultimately secured him that victory. But like I mentioned, it was close all night, but we really did see that momentum shift in those last few weeks leading up to this primary election.
And Feenstra, he's been in office for, I believe, about 6 years now, serving in that office. There was, like we've said, this big expectation among many in the Republican Party that he was going to win, especially after getting President Trump's endorsement just a few days ago. So now that we're getting past this point, do we have any idea, Dana, what might be next for Feenstra?
Right now it's not exactly clear what we'll see him do next, but like you mentioned, he's been a U.S. representative for about 6 years now. Before that, he was a state senator for 12 years. So he's been in politics, Iowa politics especially, for quite some time. In his concession speech, he thanked everybody. He thanked God. He credited God for this path. He said that there is a path forward. So that's something that we'll be keeping an eye on for sure. But just showing that he does have President Trump's endorsement and President Trump's support, I don't think this will be the last that we see of Feenstra in Iowa politics in some way, shape, or form. But what that looks like is still unknown. But of course, we'll be following it and see what comes next.
All right, well, we'll be staying up to date with you, Dana. It'll be interesting to see what Feenstra's future looks like. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We will talk with you in a little bit, but let's talk about some other races. Let's talk about The U.S. Senate race, so State Representative Josh Turek defeated State Senator Zach Walz for the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate, and this is another highly watched race for November. The Democrats are hoping to flip the Senate seat blue for the first time in nearly 20 years. Turek says he's fighting for everyone and hopes to unite all of Iowa, including fighting for those voters who supported Walz.
I am grateful for this primary. It has made me a stronger candidate. To Zach supporters, I know I was not your first choice, but I ask each and every one of you to join our campaign to push for change. Together, we are going to build an Iowa that people move to, not away from.
The work that we began together 1 year ago this month does not end tonight. It is going to end in November when Representative Josh Turek defeats Ashley Hinson.
And then on the Republican side for Senate, Representative Ashley Hinson comfortably beat former State Senator Jim Carlin. Hinson will face Turek in the November election, and Hinson has represented Iowa's 2nd congressional district for the past 5 years, but she entered the race after incumbent Senator Joni Ernst announced she wasn't seeking re-election. Hinson was endorsed by President Trump.
We have more to do. We have more to do to lower the cost of groceries and gas. We have more to do to help young Iowa families afford their first home and make sure that childcare isn't more expensive than the mortgage payment. We have more to do to help support the farmers who do so much to feed and fuel our world and do so much for us. We have more to do to ensure our veterans, like the one you heard from tonight, have the support that they need.
Let's jump over to the U.S. House and give you the results starting with District 1. For the Republicans, incumbent Marionette Miller Meeks was able to defeat marketing consultant David Pouch. So she will now go on to face former state rep Christina Bohannon, who defeated healthcare worker Travis Terrell in the Democratic primary for that seat. Then in District 2, which is now open because of Hinson's run for the Senate, former State Representative Joe Mitchell, who is a Trump-backed candidate, defeated State Senator Charlie McClintock in that race. He will face Lindsey James, who won the Democratic primary, defeating Clint Tweed Ball, who founded the nonprofit Matthew 25, and also retired Army nurse Kathy Dolter.
And in Iowa's 3rd congressional district, they had an uncontested primary there. Republican incumbent Zach Nunn ran uncontested, and so did Democratic State Senator Sarah Trump Garrett. They're going to face each other in November in a race that's very closely watched nationwide, and it could determine who controls the House of Representatives. And then District 4 was another open house seat due to incumbent Randy Feenstra's run for governor. On the Republican side, Chris McGowan, who's a veteran and political consultant, ran uncontested. He's going to face the winner of the Democratic primary, which was former state lawmaker Dave Dawson, who defeated retired nurse Stephanie Steiner and also educator Ashley Wolf-Turnabate.
All right, let's talk about what was certainly a major upset from last night. Polk County District 1 Supervisor Matt McCoy lost his bid for re-election. Former state rep John Forbes defeated the current county board chair, getting more than 60% of the vote compared to McCoy's nearly 40% of the vote. No Republicans were on the primary ballot.